Okay, is everybody seeing the splash screen? Okay. Yes, I'm Benjamin Connell from Capital Engineering at Parks Department. This is the reconstruction of Metropolitan Recreation Center sidewalk vault and sidewalk. It's $850,000 in mayoral funding. The goal is to replace the dilapidated 1987 sidewalk, especially on the Bedford Avenue side, to reconstruct some of the structure underneath it that needs to be handled, and to, while we're doing that, improve the accessibility conditions, especially at the corner quadrant. The site is at the corner of Bedford and Metropolitan. I'm a constituent and I use this facility myself. It is not in a flood zone, and the nearest recreation center is McCarran Park, which is about a 15-minute walk away. The current condition is dilapidated, as I said, especially on Bedford Avenue, where there is a distinctive sidewalk from 1987. There is some additional deterioration on the Metropolitan Avenue side. Here are views of the Bedford Avenue side looking north on your left and south on your right, where you can see that 1987 patterning that is deteriorating and has deteriorated much more rapidly than the concrete around it. Here's the Metropolitan Avenue frontage looking east on the left and west on the right. It's in much better condition, but it's still in need of reconstruction, and we'll take an opportunity to widen the tree pit that you see in the right hand.
It doesn't want to let me download WebEx for some reason, and I can't. This new
photograph.
phone doesn't have a fuck.
Sorry about that, Ben.
No problem. And here we see the corner quadrant on the left-hand side, where the grades are a little steeper than the modern grades that DOT approves. And you can see that the pedestrian ramps are missing the contrast detectable warning surfaces that are now required. In the right-hand photograph, you can see that there's some unsightly staining on the granite of the ramp that we will take care of as we need to make it look nice again. The reconstruction in plan looks like this. You can see plain concrete on both frontages of the building. All of the street furniture is to remain. In this case, it's the 5 bicycle racks, excuse me. The 5 bicycle racks are to stay where they are. And we're adding handrails at the main entrance, which are missing and are recommended and required by our accessibility coordinator. And here's a rendering of what it'll look like in plain concrete. You can see that the staining is gone from the ramp. There are handrails on the main entrance, and that's what it looks like. And that is it.
That is it. Thank you. We saw the presentation at the full board meeting, so we appreciate you coming here tonight.
It's my pleasure.
Any board member have any questions at all?
I do. Phil?
Go ahead, Steve. I don't have a screen for your hands, so just
Okay.
speak up.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Thank you, Phil, and thanks for the presentation. And I would say it looks really great. Really appreciate making repairing pathway and making more accessible. Just regard, the tree beds, said they're expanding those. And like if there's still like Belgian block down there, will you be removing those and creating a healthier environment for the trees?
Yes, it will be expanded to the typical size when we have this. This is an ample sidewalk on Metropolitan Avenue. The typical size is 5 feet by 10 feet, and it will have a plain concrete edge and no Belgian block.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Again, I don't have a screen with anybody's hand up, so if anyone
got my hand up, Phil.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Paul. Yeah, thank you. It seems pretty straightforward. I guess one question, is there any opportunity to add any, benches or any sort of street furniture? I feel like parks, these kind of facilities are, natural gathering places for people.
We're not intending to add any additional street furniture. The goals really, it came out of the need to work on the structure underneath the sidewalk, and then the condition of the sidewalk spoke for itself. I don't object to the potentially adding furniture, but I will say that there is a limited time frame to achieve this, and we're coordinating with the borough to also move some equipment in to the pool filter area, and so we're hoping to achieve this without additional time for design. If there was something like that that needed to go in, it would have to go back to internal review here at Parks Department. It would need to be designed, and there, so that would have an effect on our ability to achieve the project this year.
Okay, maybe later there'll
Yeah.
be an opportunity.
That's a nice idea.
I will say, sir, to address your question, there's nothing prohibiting adding, especially benches at any time later. They wouldn't require, reconstruction of any kind. You could just, if there was motivation to do that, it could be added in some later time all by itself.
Ben, would you say that we didn't eliminate the possibility of adding benches? The sidewalk that we're putting in could hold them?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So maybe we'll just bring it back to the team too, to see if there's any option of adding it. But as Ben said, it's not going to detract from us putting that in the future. So we'll take a look at it, Paul.
All right, thanks everyone.
Good idea. If everybody's good, and you like it, and I'd like to add Paul's recommendation, if you would like to make a motion, someone on this presentation.
Yeah, Steve Chesser makes a motion to approve the reconstruction of the sidewalk and including the recommendation
To add,
for adding benches.
good idea. Good idea. Would someone like to second?
Sure, I'll second.
Thank you, Katie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? Thank you all. Motion passes. Mary, we'll present that at the full board meeting in May, okay?
So you'll vote on it at the full board, right? We're not coming back.
Wrong terminology. We'll go before the full board with our motion and get a full board's.
I appreciate it, Phil. Thank you. I just wanted to be sure.
You got it.
What's
Thank
the,
you very much.
project timeline?
Ben, the project timeline?
Yes, we're hoping to get into construction this summer. It'll be towards the end of the summer, but that's the target.
And how long will it take?
The full construction, we're anticipating a 4-month duration.
Nice.
The 4 months also includes work underneath. So
Yeah.
it's not just the sidewalks.
That's right. Since we're talking about benches, and it's included in the recommendation, can I ask, I'm assuming that the recommendation or the request is to add benches on the Metropolitan Avenue side? And since we're still looking at these at the Metropolitan Avenue side in the screen share, they can't be in the foreground because, or they couldn't be in the foreground adjacent to the building because there is a vault there. You can see covered by grading, so it would be in the distance against the building beyond the bicycle racks.
Okay.
Is there a sense about that?
What do you think, Paul? You introduced it. I just think it's a nice idea. It's a nice addition.
Yeah, I don't know about specifically where they would go. You don't think the Bedford side there's any opportunity there? I guess because you have the ramp and stuff.
I don't think there's, and the steps, because the steps create certainly not a fully accessible seat, but those stadium style steps essentially preclude putting a bench in.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what I would suggest specifically because I think in the previous image of Metro, beyond the bike racks, it's kind of like getting down the block, so it's less associated with the entrance and the actual facility. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could just kind of look at it, study it a little bit, and maybe there's nothing there, but maybe something will come to you.
This is Mary O'Domrick. Is that the block that has Martha's Bakery on the corner?
It is.
Okay, Okay, so that doesn't sound like a good idea for benches on that, on that particular block. First of all, it's very narrow as you're walking by the Metropolitan Pool Club.
Mhm.
And I think that the bakery has benches and seating outside.
Okay, it's a thought. We can always, we'll just revisit it in the future. Let's move, yeah.
Phil, can I just suggest something? Because Paul and I sit on transportation committee.
Uh,
You can get benches for transportation, but they're on the curve. So that's something to think about if another option. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
okay. Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, thank you all. Welcome all back. We're going to move on. The second item on our agenda, Katie, I'm going to give you the floor. Katie is from North Brooklyn Parks Alliance. She's going to give us her summer launch.
No.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Phil. Let me see if I can share my screen. Oh, rats. Hmm. You know what, Phil? I'm realizing I have to, I'm not able to share. I forget what's on the agenda after me. Can I, do you want to just go to the next item while I
Do that. You take
grab
it.
this
You
tech
take your
issue?
time. Yeah, because that's great. Because I know the presenters are here, so we'll come back to you when you're ready. We're gonna go to item number 3, and this is our pickleball presentation. Anna, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's roll.
Let's roll. I like that. Okay, go ahead. It's all yours.
Okay, thanks. So first I'm going to do some intros. I'm Anna Garwood and the founder of Williamsburg Pickleball, who I know William is familiar with. It's a community for pickleball players in Greenpoint and Williamsburg area. And I'm going to be giving a presentation, but I also want to introduce a couple other folks who are here to advocate for this as well. Got Samin Adwani, who is the Director of Business Operations at 35 Ventures, also the GM of the Brooklyn Aces professional pickleball team. Say hello, Samin.
Hey everybody, nice to meet you.
And have Jose Mena as well, who's the Director of Strategic Partnerships at 35 Ventures and the Director of the Kevin Durant Family Foundation. So hello, Jose.
Hello, Brooklyn. Great to meet y'all.
All right, so I'm gonna present a few slides if that's all right with you guys. So let me share my screen. Okay, can you all see this?
Not yet.
All right. Drum roll. Now you can see?
We go ahead.
Okay, great. All right, so pickleball, as some of you may know, is the fastest growing sport in America, and we feel strongly that Brooklyn needs to get in the game, so to speak. So pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America for the 3rd year in a row, and it's become the 3rd most popular recreational activity after running and cycling. And so interest for the sport has swelled throughout Brooklyn, but due to extremely limited public courts, the supply is really not meeting the demand. And so we're advocating for Brooklyn to have more space for pickleballers to play. So I'm going to give it just an overview for those who aren't as familiar with the sport really quick.
And could you tell us why it is that it is so fast and growing?
Yes, I'm going to get to that in just a
Okay.
minute. Yeah, hold your horses. So pickleball is played on a court similar to tennis, but it's smaller surface area. And players use paddles instead of rackets and harder wiffle type balls instead of tennis balls. And it's the same size court, whether you're playing singles or doubles.
The week before, 10 days before.
Why is the sport so appealing? The question that just popped up. It spans generations. It was originally founded by 3 friends in 1965 for a sport that both themselves and their friends and their kids could easily play all together. And it really rose in popularity among retirees who were, I think someone is unmuted.
Yourselves. Sorry, Anna, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. It really originally got really popular amongst retirees for folks who used to play tennis, but they wanted something a little more easy to play in their older age. But it really exploded in the past, 3 to 5 years, especially during COVID, across all ages, especially millennials and younger folks as well, because it's accessible, it's easy to set up, it's easy to play. And it's also really fun and addicting. You can ask William as well as the other folks here who play. It's super fun because it can also be played by many different people depending on, across all different skill levels. So beginners can play, intermediate level players can play, and if you're really advanced, you can play as well. And it's really social. It builds community. Most people play doubles, and because of the smaller court size, you can easily chat with your fellow players while you're playing a match. And a lot of people play in these open play sessions, which is a great way to meet new people, build community, get to know the people in your community, and create social capital. So just some stats. In 35 or 36.5 million Americans played pickleball in the last year. That's a huge number. And fun fact, the highest percentage of those people who played in the past year live in New York City. But we have the conundrum of having very small amount of places for people to play, which is kind of ironic. So we find out places to play. And then this quote here from the CEO of Lifetime Fitness is saying that pickleball has everything it takes to be one of the biggest participatory sports in our country, because of all those reasons I mentioned in the previous slide, because it's so accessible and very appealing to a wide swath of people. And in terms of the demographics, as I mentioned, it originally started amongst the older set of players, but those only make up about 30% of the players who play now that are 55 plus. 49% are between 18 to 54, and 21% are kids between 6 to 17. So it really, truly does span generations and is a really fun, active social way for people to get out there and play. And I just want to give an overview of the North Brooklyn pickleball community, which I'm a part of, William is a part of. And we did a survey a few months ago to understand why people play pickleball, why it's appealing to them. And so this word cloud kind of brings forth the sentiments that most people mentioned in the survey. To create friends, it's thrilling, it's addicting, competitive, it's easy to pick up and play, it's active, it builds community, it's fun, and it's social. So as you can see, these themes keep coming across in terms of why people play. And this is a snapshot on some of the several communities that have been built around pickleball in the area. This is the one that I manage, the Williamsburg pickleball one here. And these communities have really pretty large size followings and really engaged members. Like if I put a post out on my Instagram or put a story out, it has really strong engagement, especially for open plays or anything about pickleball that I put out there to the community. And then this is a resource guide. There's a website that NYC Pickleball created, and it updates places to play in the area, but the vast majority of quote unquote courts that are listed on the site are and labeled BYON, bring your own net. As you can see, the image in their homepage is just a surface that they created to be able to play pickleball, but these are not official courts. And so we're advocating to get more courts built, more official pickleball courts. The population of Brooklyn is over 2.5 million residents, but there's only 3 public courts in the borough that have pickleball courts. And none of these courts are in North Brooklyn. So you can see all of these 3 here. These are the 3 courts or the 3 parks in Brooklyn. They're all sort of below Prospect Park. So there's none in the North Brooklyn area, but there's a huge demand for them. And so we've identified some prospective locations in our area that we think would be ideally suited to build courts. One of them being McCarran Park. This area, this asphalt surface area that's between 12th and 13th Street, between Bedford and Barry. This is where the majority of the pickleball players in our community play. You're probably familiar with this area. It's called a field, but it's asphalt, and I think you can only get it permitted for kickball and softball right now. But this is where most of the pickleballers are playing. However, this is the status of that surface area. It looks like a bunch of vines growing on asphalt, as you can see. It's pretty torn up, not in a great condition for any sport, really. And on any given nice day, there's up to like 10 to 15 makeshift courts of pickleballers out there really eager to play the sport. So we're suggesting, I don't know if there's any plans allocated for that space, but I think you can comfortably fit 6 to 8 courts while also reserving at least half of that space for other resurfacing other sports to be played on it. So we're proposing 6 to 8 courts can easily fit there, even more if we wanted. And then Bushwick Inlet Park. This is the area between North 12th and North 14th here along Kent Avenue. It's a desolate area that could be prime for pickleball courts. This is what it currently looks like. You're probably familiar with this area as well. And we think that, you could easily fit between 6 to 10 courts, even more if there was a desire. And then lastly, Erickson Playground is another location that we're proposing would be prime for pickleball courts. Right now, it's got these 2 basketball courts that are pretty underutilized, as well as these empty asphalt surface areas that are definitely underutilized. The only folks that I ever see out there using this area on a regular basis is like a makeshift volleyball pickup league. But other than that, I don't really see a lot of use for this area. So we think that we could fit 2 to 4 courts here at Erickson. So now I'm going to hand it over to Samin and Jose, and actually I have one more slide, and then I'll hand it over to them. But this is a visual just to show you if you were to convert existing courts, how many pickleball courts you could fit on here on the left. This is a basketball court. You could fit 3 in that same size. And then over here on the right is a tennis court. You can fit 4 pickleball courts in the same size as a tennis court. So they don't take up as much space. So you can either convert existing courts into pickleball courts, or you could, maximize underutilized park areas to build courts, like those empty asphalt images I showed. So I'll hand it over to Samin and Jose to talk about some potential funding. Samin, I think you might be muted.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Thanks, Anna, and great to meet everyone. I also should have mentioned in my intro, I'm actually a member of the Brooklyn One community as well. I live in Williamsburg, so this is near and dear to my heart. But just for reference, Jose and I both work under Kevin Durant's business and foundation, and recently we invested and are now the operators and owners of Brooklyn's first Major League Pickleball team called the Brooklyn Aces. And so for us, this is really exciting just because we've seen kind of similar success in the basketball space, kind of bringing basketball to underserved communities. And we feel like there's a real opportunity to do this with pickleball as well. And for us, it's a huge, huge focus of our team. I'll quickly pass it to Jose just to kind of touch on some of the work that he's done with the foundation and the basketball world as well.
Thanks, Samin. Great to meet everyone. I'm not a Brooklynite, but super excited to be involved in this kind of work with the Brooklyn Aces. My background, as Anna mentioned, aside from the strategic partnerships work that I do with some of our sports partners, is really community grounded through the Durant Family Foundation. We've done a lot of work in New York City and in Brooklyn, partnering with this incredible organization called the Trust for Public Land, which has a similar mission to New York City Parks, and that's to bring a incredible park space within 5-minute walking distance of every American. And obviously, I've supported projects through the foundation in New York City, PS 315 in Brooklyn, in the Lower East Side on 12th Street and Avenue A, in the Bronx. Here's a couple images of some of the most recent projects. We've completed 28 projects across the world in, I think, 8 years. and recently have really put in awesome artistic murals to make these play spaces incredible. And that's the angle we want to bring to the pickleball world, is really make it a fun, beautiful space, just to make play accessible to everyone. Pickleball especially it bridges generations, it bridges different perspectives, and it brings people together. And I think we need that more than ever. So I'll leave it at that, and we'll kick it back to Anna.
Well, that pretty much wrapped up our presentation. So, I guess I'll stop sharing, or I can ask, field any questions people have if there was any parts of the presentation you want me to bounce back to.
Yeah, Jan, I just want to thank you very much, Anna. I want to apologize. I'm sorry. I know you've been wanting to do this for the longest time. And if you get a chance, I've gone. I know your email is pickleball, Williamsburg pickleball at Gmail.
Yes.
I tried going through, and it keeps kicking back at me. It keeps.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry about that. I don't know what's going on there.
if you get a chance, just add some extra contact information at the board, and they'll forward it to me. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll throw my other email address, my other Gmail, in there.
Jan has a hand up. Jan would like to ask you a question.
Yeah, one is that I mean, could I play pickleball? I think the question is, I turned 82 yesterday. Can I play pickleball? And I'm a little concerned that they started out with seniors, and my son roared when I said I was going to play pickleball the other night. So I would like to put myself out there maybe as a challenge about, is pickleball really for everybody? So I want to know if I can play, and I think that I see I'm at I often am at State College too in Pennsylvania, and a lot of people are playing pickleball, and they are seniors, but they're largely probably in their 50s and 60s. They're not in their 70s and 80s, and I want to know if you've tried to work with. So my one question is, can I play? Because second is, have you tried to work with the senior centers? Because I said Phil is the head of Consolation Street Swinging 60s. We have on our board, we have people from in the Polish community, huge. We have Young at Heart in the north side. I'm just suggesting that now, and I know you're all volunteers, right? None of you are paid employees. So I'm talking as if you can run around and do this all. You may not be able to, but you have all the senior centers, and some of them have space around their centers too. That's one. And of course, the other place that has space is public housing has space, and public housing people. And I'm just saying, if we really are serious about trying to be diverse, I mean, I know Cooper Park has space, and Williamsburg Houses has space. I do think that it's worthwhile to look at it, maybe ask the community board people that work in these places to help, because I don't see why you should have to do all this work. So I want to say that I really apologize for adding more burdens on something wonderful that you're trying to do for the community. So age, space, and where these places are, because every place you showed, they're largely toward the Greenpoint area, and I'm a little concerned that we are and I'm glad Greenpoint is there. I've lived in Greenpoint, but we really got to get Williamsburg in there. And I just gave you several ideas about where there is space and that people might be interested, and it might be worthwhile at least one community meeting where you invite the public housing leaders and talk to them, because you have a lot of athletes in all these public housing places, and people want to keep people very active. You have a lot of people that have coming out of COVID that need to get out. So seniors are one of the groups that need to come out, but a lot of people that stayed in public housing and other places need to come out. So those are my two questions, and I'm very willing to help if you want to move in that direction.
Great.
I'm on the Public Housing and Housing Committee of Community Board 1, as well as the Women's Committee. And I'm concerned about women, because I didn't hear that word. And I'm on a mania at 82 that people somehow have a great deal of difficulty mentioning the fact there are a lot of constituents. One of the constituents are women. And I see that you have women, but if they're all gentrified, women from Greenpoint, and we're not getting any women from the other areas, I would be concerned about that because I still see the parks in Williamsburg where women are sitting and watching the men play everything. So, and I can be wrong because I'm not around all the time, and I'm willing to be told I'm wrong. Thank you.
Phil, may I speak? And
Go ahead, William.
Anna, because one group that wasn't listed was McCarran's Park Hawks. We have 100 members, and Jan, hello.
I'm
Can
here.
you hear me?
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. We have a 92 young woman, Florence, who's going to be playing her first tournament. Most of my members are 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. I myself is 68, and we do have 20-year-olds in the center. So it is a mix. I did speak with Deborah Bender about setting up a pickleball court in their space, and we're going to continue the conversation when the weather gets warm. But there are other groups, and we already started that conversation. But I assure you, in fact, Florence is so good, I expect her to win her tournament and within a year be ranked #1 in her age group. Thank you.
I didn't hear you tell me if I could play.
Hell yeah.
I didn't hear that word at all.
Absolutely, you can play.
Yes.
Is I don't have the screen with hands.
No, my hand
Anyone
is raised.
wanna, talk, ask a question to Anna?
Yeah, my hand is raised.
Yeah, I can't see. Go ahead, Katie, please speak up.
Hey, yeah, Jan, I love that idea about looking at NYCHA properties. And William, that's awesome if you're already talking to the folks over at Cooper. Because in part, some of the parks that you mentioned either have designs that have been approved by the community board, like Erickson has a design that was approved by the community board that didn't include pickleball courts, or the slide at the moment has a master plan, although that particular plot of land hasn't been designed specifically, but there is a master plan that's already been in place for a number of years for Bushwick Inlet Park. And then you may or may not be aware that the McCarran lot has, it was announced that they are going to be building a dog run there, at least funding to build a dog run there has been in the news and part of the dialogue about that space. But I don't know what the status is of that. But some of the spaces that you mentioned do actually have plans. I would take a look at the designs. I think especially the ones that are approved would be on the City Parks website.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, and this is really like suggested locations, not knowing the full, plans that are in the works, but also just to present the need and the demand and how it can, serve the community. If there's other locations that would be possible, we're open to that as well, obviously.
And I just want to jump in because me and William were talking this morning, and I can tell you when we started to redesign a lot of our parks area a couple of years ago, we had to start putting dog runs in because that became very popular at the time. Now it's almost standard everywhere. So me and William said, I think as we move forward and we start to see new designs coming into our existing parks, we're going to have to look to put pickleball courts in these new designs that we're going to put together.
Yeah.
Love the sound of that, Phil.
Yeah, that's what we're going to have to do.
Yeah, Bill, can I?
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, related to that, Box Street Park, which is a park in progress, and there, is designed for, I guess, like 2.5 out of 3 acres.
Right.
But the final section where the emergency response unit someday they'll vacate that spot and it'll be available. So maybe that's a potential spot for that. It's kind of a long haul, but unfortunately Bushwick Park long haul too, because the remediation situation is complicated and intense, and they're just working that out right now. And then as Katie mentioned, there's a waterfront open space master plan that suggested active uses of the park kind of being kind of one half and passive being the other half. And, but, you know, in the end, it's up to the, you know, community to design their park. So.
Yeah, but like I said, I think moving forward, we're gonna have to start looking for space, and we're gonna have to spot. It's just become too popular of a sport right now. Too many people are playing it. We got too many requests for it. So I think we're gonna have to start looking at our design now. Where could we put courts? All over our community.
What about under like a Meeker under the, you know, the BQE?
Maybe
Yeah.
there. You're right about that.
And Sternberg Park.
Hi,
Oh, hi,
Jane.
Jan. Go ahead, Jan. Jane.
Oh, hi. I love pickleball. And but Katie, Denny Horowitz, do you think under the K Bridge, because people can set up and tear down? I mean, it's a 7 or 8 acre paved park. That might be doable. But
Yeah.
I also
Oh, sorry, finish.
but I also wanted to say that to Jose, in terms of the building of basketball courts in our community at the NYCHA housing, the Cooper Park houses, there was a man named Torian Spears who mentored youth through basketball in Cooper Park, and their courts, and he died sadly of a heart attack, very young. And there's an annual tournament in his honor every year. And the people who live in the Cooper Park houses are always looking to honor him. They would love to restore the courts, but they need help. And is this something we could set up a meeting with the Kevin Durant, the foundation, possibly?
Well, the meeting would be with me, Jane.
Okay.
I'd be happy to learn more about what the parks are. Our renovation program with basketball is because we've done so many in New York, and our promise is to like take it global. It is, it is a process to get projects approved, but it's always nice to have lay of the land in terms of where the need is, and some of these special storylines obviously add to the compelling nature of the renovation. So I guess I'm sure my contact email is part of this agenda, so
Yeah, great.
we can figure something out.
Yay. Thank you.
If I
I'll
could
reach
just-
out.
yeah. Jane, if I could just jump in there, we actually have funded the Frost Playground. So those are the courts for Torian Spears. We funded those and we're supposed to start this spring. I don't have a start date yet. It's in my update that I provide to the board every month. But we will be redoing those basketball courts and the handball court that's directly adjacent to it.
Oh, that's great news too.
That
Yeah,
is
so that-
really great.
But I'm sure we can redirect Jose to some other courts, there's plenty of need here in Brooklyn. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Jose, I'll reach out anyway, because maybe you'll, we'll get you involved in some park related things.
Very good.
Love it.
Phil, I just want to answer Jane's question quickly. Yeah, we had thrown out the idea of under the K and reached out to some active pickleball players, but it was my understanding that I think because of the frequency that they go, that although it might be a good place physically, I think it was just a little too far. Is that right, William?
Correct. Oh, yeah, correct. I spoke to, and I also spoke to Anna about this. Most of the folks I spoke to weren't too happy with our location. And also, to be honest, a lot of people don't like to cross Meeker Avenue. To be honest, but that was one of the places that they were interested in.
Like I said, we'll keep an eye out. Now we just wherever we can put them, we'll just keep looking.
Phil, could I ask something?
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, just kind of a technical question because I have never played pickleball, but is the surface something special or can it just be asphalt?
Well, we make do with asphalt because we don't have real courts, but it's very similar to a tennis court surface if you're playing on a real court.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking about possibilities for sort of like multi-purpose spaces. Because I know, William, you said you've been teaching lessons in handball courts, right? Which is just
Yeah,
asphalt.
and it's been and I want to talk about that a bit later because drawing the sharks on the ground at my 68 years of age has been, so I've been teaching Cub Scouts and fellow seniors like Florence to get them ready for a tournament at the handball courts at Cooper Park. And it's, it's concrete, it's hard. It would be nice. So one of the things I've done is with plastic markers, put them on the 2 tennis courts during the week when it's empty, because the surface is much more easier on our knees. As you know, if you played any sport, the knees are the first to go. But one of the things I wanted to ask later is the possibility of drawing pickleball lines within tennis courts. That's something I want to bring up a little later. Thank you.
Okay.
Possibility, William.
And the last thing I was just going to ask Phil, I guess to you and the group is, I know New York City has an Adopt a Parks program as well. To the extent that's something that we could also funnel through with the Durant Family Foundation and sort of adopt the park and refurbish it with us providing some of the funding, I think we'd be really excited and open to that as well.
It's always a good idea. Very good idea. Sure.
Bill,
I'm
can I
with
wait
the
one-
Parks Department too. So Simon and I'd love to talk to you guys about just McCarran Park where you're playing now and adopt a park program and what we can do. So I don't know if
That's
you,
great.
Joanna, if you can connect us, but we can have a conversation about the adopt a park and
Great.
just McCarran and all of that.
Yeah, I think it provides a great framework where it's, we can do the work and sort of support the community.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little complicated and depending, on where you look and where you go, but it's definitely an option that we have.
William, would you like to put a motion on the floor?
I'm a committee member, so I can't put a motion.
Oh, you're not. I'm sorry.
I'm a board member, and
You're a board member. You're not. When you talk,
you see me
pickleball,
so
I
often.
immediately go to you. You know that.
I love you, brother.
Steve, would you like to
Phil,
put a motion on the floor, Stephen?
Yeah, sure. If I could just make one more quick suggestion.
Sure, go ahead.
Marsha P. Johnson State Park, where Smorgasburg
Right.
only uses that slab 24 days out of the year. The remaining
that.
300 plus days are not,
Yeah.
it's not utilized.
Beautiful.
I'd say
People actually
aggressively.
do use it for pickleball, Steve. It's interesting you say that. I was talking to Leslie Wright about this and she said people are using it for pickleball.
Wow.
And she
Well,
thinks it's a great use of it because it's,
We
you know.
can send a letter to state on
We
that.
tried to reach out, we couldn't.
The state
Okay,
thoughts
so-
on that. But let's stay with this right now, Steve.
All right,
go ahead.
so with something along the lines of requesting that the Parks Department actively pursue potential locations for creating pickleball courts within our district. Is that kind of what we're going for here, or do you want something a little more in depth, or?
I think, that's what the idea we're trying to put across. We'll send that to the park heads and we're talking just us with, North Brooklyn. But that's what I think we're looking for right here. So would someone like to second that motion?
Well, actually, Phil, or Steve, could I make a friendly amendment to that?
Sure.
I'm just wondering if, Steve, you mentioned under the BQE also, and there's all this discussion about, repurposing that space. Should we also make that request to DOT, since they're responsible for that space? We sort of expand it beyond parks and think a little more.
Do that. We could put, as you could say, send things to DOT for space that's not being utilized right now.
Yeah.
And to the housing authority for the public housing that's within the Williamsburg area.
Then we could send a letter to public to the housing also and
All right, and Leslie Wright, State Parks.
State parks without a doubt her too. Okay.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. We covered a lot of territory with that. A great idea. So what, Steve, Paul, would you like to second that motion?
I would like to second it. Yes.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? Motion passes. And we do have a quorum, which I thank everyone for. Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate
Thank
the
you so
opportunity
much.
to
Great
present.
presentation, all of you. I love that. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Hi, Katie. Are we ready to go?
Yes, I think so. I think so. Let me give this a try.
All right, give it a try.
What do you see?
Oh, there you go. We got it.
There.
All right, great. So, I know you all are champing at the bit to know what what North Brooklyn Parks Alliance is up to, but I wanted to spend a quick moment kind of talking about the Parks Department's budget, or at least the city budget that's happening right now, and kind of where the parks funding is. North Brooklyn Parks Alliance has for many years been part of the Play Fair Coalition, which is an initiative by New Yorkers for Parks, a more than 100-year-old citywide advocacy organization. Full disclosure, I used to work there probably more than a decade ago, and it advocates for improvements of parks across the city. And so in thinking about the city's budget, and also, North Brooklyn Parks Alliance and other volunteer groups, other parks conservancies across the city, part of the reason why we exist is because there just isn't enough funding going into the city's budget for parks. So just very quickly, the Playfair Coalition is advocating that 1%, at least 1% of the city's budget does support the Parks Department's budget. This coalition is more than 400 organizations across the city. This represents unions, elected officials, parks conservancies, friends groups, volunteer coalitions that want more funding for parks. This is just a really quick timeline of the Parks Department's budget back in the 60s when it was more than 1%. We'll go in staff numbers in a second, but you can see that during the fiscal crisis of the 70s, it steeped down more than 1%, and slowly but surely over the 50 years since, it has been creeping up, and to this day is still only about 0.5% of the city's budget. And this is kind of represents that growth since the 70s fiscal crisis of the Parks Department's budget compared to other agencies. And you can see that it's one of the slowest growth agencies. And this is a comparison of kind of where New York is compared to other cities, comparing the amount of funding per park acreage. And you can see that New York City's share of its overall resources compared to its city acreage is quite low compared to other major cities. And that really is like who is working in parks, right? And so this again is just kind of a graphic visual of the size of the workforce working in our parks for the city over the last 80 years. And so you can see while it's been getting increased in the last 5 years or so, it's still woefully below where it was before the fiscal crisis of the 70s, which is why there's a campaign right now. This coalition has secured additional funding over the last few years. And when you say additional funding, that usually means people. So positions, a baseline position, that's something that is secured, a position that's secured in the budget. You've got maintenance and operations, PEP, police, parks enforcement police, you have recreation folks. And so those are sort of positions that are kind of on the chopping block right now, that through advocacy, you're actually able to restore those positions, which has been successful in the past. These are just examples of the amount of money that was secured through advocacy last fiscal year, and they're on the chopping block for this fiscal year. Can you just hold on one second? And so without that securing that funding from year to year, it's possible that you have less services. And so we're sort of encouraging you all, since you are the Parks Committee and since you are, park, you have an interest in parks, obviously, because you're here. We're just encouraging people to, hold on one second, I'm in the middle of a presentation. We're encouraging you all to sign the petition to bring the city's budget back up to, and when I say the city, I mean telling the mayor and telling your city council members that you want the budget to increase for the Parks Department. And so this is the request of the coalition. Those are the positions that is part of the ask. This would be citywide, as well as overall initiatives like parks equity and natural areas initiatives. And so that's kind of a very, very high level overview. Anyone who's interested, feel free to email me. I'd love to get you involved in either the coalition or the petition and campaign. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or I would just go into North Brooklyn Parks Alliance.
Jan has a
So-
question
Hey
for you.
Jan, what's up?
I have been fighting for parks for a long time, but my question would be, and I don't expect a big answer now, but I think it's really important that we relook at what is the partnership between public and public space and parks, because of the issue that is exemplified by Women's Swim, where the Parks Department is not letting the community carry out what the entire community board, all the local politicians have asked them to do, because they say they actually get to decide everything regarding the pool. It worries me, and I would like to have some time on an agenda, not now, because you're already long into the meeting, a discussion about what is the relationship between the community that uses the park, the users, and the Parks Department, because I am really concerned that it is not public and that the public doesn't have any power and voice. So I just want to put it on the agenda, but for later, Phil,
Yeah,
that
okay,
this needs
sure.
is really, because other places we have partnerships and we know what they are. I don't know what ours is anymore with the Parks Department.
So, yeah, and again, like
Steve has something to ask you.
Yeah, I just like to react to what Jan said. Jan, I don't know, I guess I've had a different experience with the Parks Department, especially with Mary and Vinny and Commissioner Marr, especially with park design, that, this board and the community's had a huge impact
Yes,
on
I agree.
recent park designs. And the Friends groups have close symbiotic relationship with Mary, if there are issues in the park. And I feel like, the women's swim, it's been a very contentious issue. I feel like, it's been back and
Let's not
forth
get into
trying to
that right
get.
now. We have, that's good. We're gonna talk about.
Yeah, but she was relating it
I don't want
to,
to I don't want to start the
this.
conversation now. Let's
Okay,
stay
I
on
gotcha.
point now,
Okay.
and then we'll get there in a minute, okay?
So I think
All
we
right.
need to talk, Steve. We need to meet
Okay.
on this
Okay,
idea.
yes, hold on. One thing at a time, please.
Not
Go ahead.
now, not now.
Yeah, one thing at a time.
so it was really, the campaign's really about the allocations and especially the workforce going into maintaining and providing horticultural services for park spaces, right? And so with that, if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen again, and I want to talk about some of the things that the North Brooklyn Parks Alliance is doing to help support the parks efforts, but then also how we're looking beyond just park spaces and really looking at open spaces across the district, whether it's the Parks Department or the Department of Transportation on the city or the state side. And so with that, I'd love to talk to you about what we are up to. And so you said summer. I think that's because I said a summer season, but I actually want to focus on the spring because we're barely into spring. So these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about over the next couple of minutes. In particular, I'm really excited to share that we have been growing our staff in order to provide those services. On the administrative side, we're building up our communications and our finance. We're building a horticultural team, a maintenance team. Most of them are local, and they're pretty diverse in terms of their demographics, age, ethnicity, but except for where they live, because most of them live in the neighborhood or nearby, certainly in Brooklyn. We still have 2 open positions. One is actually three. One is the lead operations for Under the K, always looking for new grounds crew at Under the K. And then my one of my favorite positions, which is the lead gardener at McGolrick Park, is still open. So we are looking for that. If anybody knows someone who is interested in the gorgeous park we call McGolrick, we are looking for a gardener on partnership with City Parks to be able to service that park. We focus a lot of our attention on Under the K. For those of you who don't know, we were talking about this before as it relates to pickleball. But Under the K Bridge Park is a relatively new 7-acre park under the Kosciuszko Bridge. It's mostly a linear park, and we have really been focusing on its horticultural improvements. Those improvements and investments are happening in large part because of collaborations and partnerships that we've been building. This is all under the lead of our new director of horticulture, Lisa Bloodgood, who many of you know because she's a strong community member for more than a decade. But we have been partnering with an organization called the Hope Program. It's a Bronx-based program that trains folks from all over the city in horticulture and equipment. And so some of our new gardeners are from that program. We've been working with the local Girl Scouts for the last, I don't know, 7-8 months on a sunflower garden under the bridge, which is that kind of oval next to the blue wall on the top center. We've been partnering with the Greenbelt Native Plant Center. We have a seed program and a sort of dedicated team following the seed program so that we can have this kind of circular partnership where we are growing plants on their behalf. We're collecting the seeds, giving them back to them so that they can grow more plants and we can continue trading. So we're just getting started on a 3-year partnership for that. We're partnering with Big Reuse, which many of you know as kind of like the compost kings, right? They have a couple of locations in New York. Most close is, I think, under the Queensboro Bridge, and they have been delivering tons of compost all over the neighborhood, and they're going to be keeping a lot of that at Under the K Bridge Park so that we can service local open spaces in the neighborhood with fresh compost that is collected locally. We also built a nursery, a natives plant nursery with almost 15,000 plants that right now are little tiny baby plants. But by this fall, we're hoping that we'll have more than 10,000 plants that can service, again, the parks and open spaces throughout the neighborhood. And we've been focusing a lot on soil. I think a lot of you know that the soil in this neighborhood has had some issues because of the environmental history that we all kind of, I think, are aware of. So we've been partnering with the Clean Soil Bank to get cleaner soil at Under the K Bridge and using that in other spaces as needed. And then, of course, testing the soil on a frequent basis, partnering with Brooklyn College and their soil lab to do so. We've been doing a lot of volunteering. Just the last couple of days, we did a couple in Bushwick Inlet Park with CBRE and North Brooklyn Runners and the Williamsburg High School of Architecture and Design. These are It's My Park Days, kind of building off the work that the Friends of Bushwick Inlet Park does. There's always a lot of work to do, so we're just trying to help their efforts. That was part of the beginning of Earth Day. So we were out and about this past weekend where we were either organizing or supporting events all over the district. We had 3 parks that we worked in, Bushwick Inlet Park, Cooper Park, McGolrick Park, as well as open streets that we're involved in. And those activities were performances, volunteer events, plantings, community sort of tabling. And it was just really such a wonderful weekend if anyone was out for Earth Day. And I think some of you know we've been working with City Parks and Councilmember Ressler and an organization called Tree Time on the council members' street tree fund, which, yeah, I see Vanessa here. And so initiative that's been happening for Jeepers, I feel like the last 6 months, but we've done a couple of events with the council member recently. So this past weekend, we got a number of volunteers to service street trees on on the mile stretch along Kent Avenue from North 12th to Metropolitan, again with big reuse and their compost. And we are part of the Forest for All coalition, which is working on getting more trees and better street tree care throughout the entire city. We are working with the Friends of McGolrick. I think anyone who has visited McGolrick recently has seen the wonderful state that it's in, right? The Parks Department has been making great efforts in getting it ready for spring. It's looking gorgeous. The Friends of McGolrick Park is a relatively new organization, relatively new friends group that has been just really fabulous to work with. If anyone was there, the Attorney General was there this past weekend announcing funding to the Greenpoint Library, but then also it created an opportunity to thank her for the investments that the Attorney General made through GSEF in McGolrick Park over the last maybe 8 years. They've expressed interest in continuing to support the park. And I want to plug again our lead gardener position, which again would be a partnership with New York City Parks. It's something that's also funded by City Council member Ressler, to be able to have a dedicated gardener in this park. And I wanted to also give a shout out to the council member for funding the picnic tables on the right-hand side, which we were able to bring over and install last week. Cooper Park, I know some of our friends are here. We had a fabulous weekend this past weekend with the Friends of Cooper Park. City Parks has been helping with the pollinator garden on the left. Can you give me 1 second? And so we were helping their efforts this past weekend to expand their pollinator garden, which is being led by Paul and William, who's on here, and then of course Sarah and Council Member Jen Gutierrez. And so moving away from Parkland, I wanted to talk quickly about our work in open streets and plazas. If you could just give me 1 moment.
Where is it?
Sorry, I'm trying to find, I keep putting mute
Very
while I'm
cute,
here.
cute,
Hold on.
Edie.
Okay, so many of you may have seen that, the Open Streets 2023 season is upon us. There has been an expansion to open streets, and what we have been working on with City DOT has really been 3 projects. We've been working with them on the Bedford Slip, which is Bedford Avenue, just off of Manhattan, on Banker's Anchor, which is the little triangle on North 15th Street, right across from McCarran, and then Berry Street, which many of you know as a long open street. And so these are all in partnership with volunteer coalitions for each of those spaces that have been gathering and doing a lot of advocacy over the last few years. In North Brooklyn, that expansion isn't necessarily more spaces, but rather more resources to the spaces we've been working on. So not this past weekend, yesterday and the day before, we have been doing horticultural investments in Bedford Slip to try to activate that and make it more green and make it a more successful plaza space. Banker's Anchor, again, which is on North 15th, is going to move from a weekend open street to one that's going to be available 24/7 as an actual plaza space. So you're going to be seeing some improvements there. Anyone who's been to the transportation committees will have seen those designs because DOT has been presenting them for Banker's Anchor as well as Berry Street. And so we have been working with local businesses to try to get sponsorships of some of these programs. So you should see more activities in these spaces in the month to come. And I think, so many folks have talked about these 2 issues, but I just wanted to, reiterate that We responded to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers proposal to protect the waterfront, which included sea gates and walls. And so that's something that we had been working on this winter, as well as working on the BQE. So, I'm pretty sure, I forget, was it you, Paul? I already forgot. Whoever brought up pickleball under the BQE, I'm fairly certain that came up in 3 of the visioning sessions that we put together over the last 2 months, and collected all of that feedback and provided it to DOT in a report, which I'm happy to provide to this committee, because it included, a fair amount of community feedback on how we can reimagine the expressway, including green infrastructure projects and park developments in, along, around, on top, and under the BQE. And so that's kind of it for now. I don't have anything, I think, to vote on, but I just wanted to make sure that you all knew what we were up to as we get started in 2023.
Thank you very much. There was a lot there. Thank you so much for that, Katie. Any questions for Katie?
Phil, I just want to say thank you to Katie and all of North Brooklyn Parks Alliance. They always come there when we call out for help. So we appreciate them with all our heart.
Very good. Very good. Katie, would you like to make a motion that I like your idea about the 1%? So maybe we could send a letter to.
I would love to make a motion for the community board to
I would say to who? To City Hall and to our council people.
yeah, I think that's exactly right.
So if you'd like to make a motion on that we're advocating that the city budget should be for 1% should go to parks budgets. Is that good?
Yeah.
Second it. Steve Chester.
Excellent, Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstentions? Motion passes.
I'm abstaining. This is Mary. I'm abstaining.
Okay, Mary, I got your abstention. I got you. Okay. Thank you, Katie. Good. Very good. Very, very good. Okay. And we're going to move on to our last and final agenda item. This is the discussion on adding hours to the women's swim. Before I turn it over to Jan, I just want to bring everybody up to speed on this. This committee and this community board is 100% behind this motion, but this ask. So we're right there with you. We've been on your side all this while. We just got to get whoever's in city government to give the okay. Those are the people we got to get to do the right thing. And with that, go ahead, Jan. You may.
I want to turn it over to Bella. Bella.
Okay, good enough. Bella, go ahead.
Yes. Hello. Hi, everybody. And it was nice meeting you today. Some of you at the groundbreaking. Me, Henny, and Rifki were there. And yes, I recognize some of your people. And anyway, now I guess everybody's sort of fed up with our agenda to get more hours, but it's a fact that we need it. And here I have a nice lady next to me that she was also in the pool today. And as she ages, she feels that she needs the pool even more so. And so are other women. Women have problems with the feet and the neck and the shoulders and the hips. And this is very, it's like a must. And in all, we are only asking for another 3 hours. On Friday, 2 hours, and on Monday, an added hour. And it seems such a small request, and somehow it's so hard to break through. And we are at any given time the most congested session. I mean, most utilized. And some of the hours that people swim there are only they have maybe 10, 15 people throughout the hour. We have about 40, 50 women per hour, and it's quite congested. And we need a Friday. The Friday is something like, it makes it even 3 hours, 3 times a week. And I don't know why. Really, I can't really figure out why. It shouldn't be granted to us. After so many years asking, we always come up with some hardship. We always have problems. But now at this moment, things are settled. But we need, after COVID, there are some hours are reinstated, but we still need the 2 hours on Friday and 1 hour on Monday. So please, I'm begging you all, please favor us tonight and the next meeting. And if anybody has a suggestion who we can approach, so finally it comes through, it comes about. Because at this very moment, we don't have the 2 hours on Friday and another hour. Imagine on Monday, so women arrive and it's only 1 hour. Can you imagine? Can you imagine about at least 40 women come up and there's only 1 hour?
So I was going to add to Bella, I'll add to your comment just to remind people that the women swim has gone back 30, 40 years. And the people that fought to save the pool were two groups, the women's swim group when it was going to be closed down, and the lap swimmers, artists of Greenpoint, who worked together to save the pool. So women always had 8 hours a week, and de Blasio took away for which we cannot understand. We do not know why. Took away the fact, because they tried to say it was a human rights violation, which we do not know what human rights violation it is or isn't. And another councilman in another district asked for an exemption. So either we're asking, Phil, for an exemption that goes from 5 hours, which de Blasio at one town hall meeting literally leaned over me, 6'4", leaned over and said, okay, I'll give you an hour. This is after all these women, hundreds of women, have had this swim time for all these years and fought to save the pool. And in that pool, the lie that was perpetuated was that this was only Hasidic women, which I don't know why Hasidic women can't have swim time, but they happen to be Hasidic, Muslim, older, younger, ill women. We have women that really do not want to and cannot swim with the lap swimmers and men. They need to have space. And we see that in the Williamsburg Greenpoint community, our senior center and everybody else, when we've had these dialogues, older women stopped going to the pool years ago because there wasn't space and time. And people have the last point, just to, because there are some new people here, is that we had 1 million dialogues for over a year or 2 years. Some of you were at that, about the issues. And we really worked it out where in the end, every local politician and everybody but one person on the community board, then, not now, supported the hours for women's swim. And we have been told, and Lincoln at Wrestler thought, and I thought he had gotten a win 2 months ago, and then all of a sudden it was rescinded. And I'm telling you that I'm not exactly unable to organize or advocate. And I honestly do not understand, and we have never been told why it is that this is happening. And they use some word of equity and human rights, but we don't know who at human rights and equity and what we have to do. And we want to save the pool. So the end is that Bella and all the women, they even wanted to use it in the summer when the pool was way underutilized, and they were not given the right to be able to use it when nobody else was using it. And this is why, Steve, I'm saying this issue about who gets to decide planning and use of any space. Why would we not want people that want to use it and have a hardship and health issues? We laid it out. That's why people sound so, we sound so tired and maybe angry, because it just blows my mind and Bella's mind and Hanny's mind and every other woman on the Women's Issue Committee of why it is that we cannot get 3 more lousy hours. And in reality, it would be nice if they had 5, because if they could get 2 hours at night, people would really be happy. So out of 72 hours.
All right, Jan, but the issue is, and I'm bringing it up, who can approve these hours?
Right now, we're told, and Jennifer is here, and Lincoln, let them.
I have a,
Let
I
Lincoln
have a
come in.
question and a comment. I have a
Steve,
question and a
Lincoln,
comment.
one second.
Yeah.
Lincoln,
Okay.
let Lincoln come in.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to stay on for too long. My colleague Vanessa
Yeah,
is
go
on,
ahead.
and I'm just at an event that I'm emceeing, so they're going to call me back in a second. So I apologize.
Beautiful.
But Jen and I are tag teaming this one together, as we always do on all the good things. On the bad things, I do them on my own. In all seriousness, this one has. It's one of the issues that my staff and I and Jen's team and her staff have spent more hours on than almost any other issue in our community. And it's incredibly frustrating because we're not asking for the sun, the moon, and the stars. We're asking for 3 more freaking hours of women's swim. It's a perfectly reasonable request. And in fact, Jen and I were able to get the Parks Department, thanks to the extraordinary advocacy of Jan and Bella and Penny and others, to put out a schedule this fall that included 3 more hours of women's only swim. But when the lawyers at the Parks Department heard about the change schedule, they said you have to change it back. And they took away our 3 hours that we had advocated and fought so hard for. So we talked to the Parks Department commissioner and her team. They said, hey, we're open to this. We have concerns because, whatever, but it has to go through the city Human Rights Commission's approval process. So we reach out to the chair of the Human Rights Commission and we talk to the chair of the Human Rights Commission. They say, well, we can review this and approve it if the Parks Department formally requests it. And then we go back to the Parks Department. The Parks Department says, well, we can only formally request it if we're directed by City Hall to do so. So we've been going back and forth with the mayor's staff, asking for them to provide a clear, crisp directive to the Parks Department to expand hours. They have said, the staff at City Hall that Jen and I have spoken with have said that they're open to this. They're not opposed to this. There are some representatives who work for the mayor who are from the community in Williamsburg who are attuned to the issues. And I spoke again just about an hour ago to the Parks Department. They said they're trying to see if they can, make some adjustments. They had gotten another letter requesting for an hour of additional swim for June, July, and August. So they're looking at that now. I think we need to keep the pressure on the mayor's office to direct the Parks Department to request from CCHR, the Human Rights Commission, the additional 3 hours of swim. Now, unfortunately, there was significant negative press attention when this was all going down 5 or so years ago when I worked in the de Blasio administration. And I think that the lawyers at the Parks Department are still scarred from the New York Times editorial and the other negative attention that this issue received. There's just no reason that they can't extend the hours if they want to. And the demand is clear. There are more people, there are more women utilizing the women only swim hours than the other hours in the pool, which is why the program staff, included it in their updated schedule for this past fall before the leadership of the Parks Department overturned it. But I think we need to keep the pressure on the mayor's office. We need to keep the pressure on the Parks Department to do right by our community, to heed our requests, to heed our demand. It is a reasonable one, and we're going to keep pushing until we get to make it happen. Even if it's incremental and Parks is willing to do a little bit now, we got to keep pushing to get fully what we need.
Okay. Thank you, Lincoln. Appreciate your time. Before
Absolutely,
I talk,
Jen.
Mary, can I make
a
a
little bit?
suggestion? Phil, can I make
Whoa.
Wait, can Jen speak?
I'm going to let Jennifer talk, and then we'll all get a chance to say our piece. Go ahead, Jen.
Thank you so much, Phil, and good to see you again, and Jan, and Bella. I'm sorry I missed you this morning. I was at the event also. But Councilmember Lincoln's been a great partner on this. He obviously knows the inner workings of City Hall a lot better, was really in tune to this. with the de Blasio administration, so has been really, really helpful. The pool is in my district, and he's offered to help attend, so I just want to thank him and his team for helping, because the information that you all have truly is the information that I had as a staff member and as a member, which is a very kind of hazy timeline of someone filed a complaint against the Human Rights Commission saying that the act of excluding someone based on gender should be investigated by the Human Rights Commission, which is what they did. And that really kind of started it. And I think, to just echo what Councilmember Ressler said, it was also just the negative press attention. And I don't think any administration wants to highlight or bring attention to something that, could be deemed, I think, a little bit problematic. And all of that to say, it's a cop out, it's an excuse, right? We know that in any administration, if they want to do the things, they will do the things. I think if we're doing our part in making sure that it is fully staffed, because that is honestly the only logical thing that the only justification that I think would make sense to me, right? If the hours are reduced because they just don't have the lifeguards, and there is a national lifeguard shortage. That's not what's happening here. That's certainly not the feedback that we've gotten. And so I think just to agree with Lincoln, we do have to keep the pressure on, and we can think creatively about what that pressure looks like. But, I think we have several people in leadership positions that think like this is not a big lift. And so we just need to escalate this, make sure that if it's the mayor that has a final say, which he does, we need to make sure that this is getting to him, because it feels like there's a lot of in-between talk between agency and city hall. And we just need to make sure that it's being escalated to the mayor. And I know especially the women are not new to petitioning and showing up to these spaces, and maybe that's something that we need to do again. But that's the update, which is, we're with you. We also don't think it's an egregious ask. It's just unfortunate that they've really turned the women's health into a political issue, and by in turn them trying to protect a category, they're very much excluding another category of a valuable community, a piece of our community. So I'll go on mute. I know there's some hands up. I will also say Abe Lugo from my office is here. Unfortunately, I have to hop off a little bit before 8:15 for a campaign thing, but he is here throughout the duration, and I believe has been. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, so I got a few people. I'm going to go in sequence. Steve, you're first. Go ahead, Steve. Speak up.
Thank you. First, a question and then a comment. Just could recap what hours are available right now for women's swim, and then what time of day are you wanting the additional 3 or 5 hours?
Bella, what are the hours right now? What are the hours you have?
Friday?
No, first what we have.
Oh, you want to know the hours that we have now?
Yes, right now. What are the hours you have right now? Steve wants
Monday, 1 hour. Wednesday, 2 hours. In the morning, both of them. Monday, it's 9 to 10. Right. Wednesday, it's 9 to 11.
And what on Friday?
Sunday is the other one.
No, it was taken away, and nothing on Friday.
Nothing on Friday, okay.
And I'd appreciate if you people, if you can just read the page that I sent along to everybody today. It's a short 1 page, and everything is stated on it, all and very clear, no confusion.
We can have 9 hours too.
I was confused by it.
There's 2 hours.
And we have 2 hours, which for children and their mothers on Sunday afternoon from 1:30 to 3:30. However, we don't include, this is a separate thing, that a program for children. It's not for the women to swim, have their lap swim and swim and make exercises they need.
Okay.
And we would include 9 hours also, we would be to be satisfactory, because some women still work and they cannot, it's very hard for them to come during the day.
You just wanted to know what hours that you have right now.
This lady wants to say a few words.
Can I say a few words?
Yeah, but I just want to know when
Wait a minute,
the new hours that you're requesting.
Everybody will get a chance to talk. Steve, you got anything else that you want to mention? Or that,
I
that's
want to know when the new hours that they're requesting, when are they? When do they-
9 to 11 Friday, and
Mhm.
Monday, another hour. Now it's 9 to 10. It should be 9 to
Doable.
11. Very easy, every day from 9 to 11.
At least.
okay.
Thank you. And I'll just quickly
Please.
say,
I'm gonna
Jan,
butcher your
the
first name.
support,
What's? Oh, go ahead, Steve. You got more? What? Go ahead.
We would
Yeah, I just wanna make
prefer
One second. One second,
wait.
everybody. Relax. Steve, go ahead.
thank you, Phil. Yeah, I just say the support from the board was overwhelming, but there were 3 votes that one person against and 2 abstained. And I was one of the abstentions because there were, I mean, there was negative press, but there was just press from members of the community who question whether there's gender discrimination going on here, with what's proposed. But I feel inevitably the board felt like it's happening during hours when there's almost, very little or no use of the pool except by women. So, so I feel like it's, it's a significant issue that was brought up, by, there were a group of women and there were others just about the constitutionality. And I remember Tom Burrows spoke very passionately about how pools were sites for discrimination for LGBT, for people of color. So it kind of touches a nerve. So I feel like we just got to just have our heads screwed on the right way and approach this, and I feel like, I remember I saw a quote from the Human Rights Commission saying, when some of the hours were reinstated, a balance between the community needs and just considering, the access issue. So I feel like if that, just we continue to support that idea, then I'm on board with that. So thank you.
All right. I'm gonna butcher your first name. So, Mr. Raw, did you say your first name? You're muted. You're
Mute.
muted. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Who's that?
You there? Speak.
You're still mute.
You're
We
still
can't hear
muted.
you.
Come on.
He's probably gonna have to log out and log in because he's unmuted. I see it.
Okay.
It's not.
Mary O'Domerick, did you want to say something?
I do.
Go ahead, Mary. You in third, and then I'm going to go back to Bella. Go ahead.
Okay. I think that I heard Jen Gutierrez say that the pool is in her district. Can somebody confirm that? Because I haven't seen.
She's right there. I
Yes.
think she
Hey,
did.
Mary. It is.
There?
Yes. Hey, Mary.
Okay. Hi. So my suggestion would be maybe to try to reach out to a powerful women's group like NOW, National Organization of Women, and you can take the lead on that. And oh yes, we have a friend there now. The president of the New York chapter is ex-Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You might get
Yeah, that's a good idea.
yeah, if you take the lead on that, you might be able to get something done.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, that's good advice. I think that we tried to do that. It's my timeline is fuzzy, but I feel like we tried, but obviously now with a friend and now maybe things could change a little bit. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and if, two women together, you can't lose,
We have a lot of women, Mary, that are supporting this issue.
Yeah,
Bella, go ahead,
that's
Bella. I'm going to go back in Bella's court for a minute.
perfect for Jen to take the lead on it.
You want to talk?
So, yes. Oh, can I talk?
Bella, yes, you're right.
Maybe it's worthwhile to mention again that just before this pool was renovated, some real estate tycoons wanted to snatch away the building. So we wouldn't have a pool and you wouldn't have a pool, and anybody on this spree now and the entire neighborhood would have no pool. And it was just a few women, some of them are not alive anymore, that went protesting to save this building. So now maybe this is going to make a dent in the way people think. Yes, women from our community helped save this building. So
From what I understand, I'm getting from our council people, we have to keep pressure on City Hall. Because Jennifer, is that basically the top where we should be giving most pressure right now?
I think so. And yeah, absolutely. And I think I just want to address what Steve brought up, absolutely about the inclusivity piece. To be fair, I'm with you. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're not excluding anyone that identifies as a woman or a trans woman, but I also don't think that that's ever happened at the Metropolitan Pool. I think the decision has been made around a fear. And that's certainly something that we can address. But yeah, Phil, to your point, that's a lot of the feedback that we've gotten, and like Lincoln said, he's honestly been doing a lot of that kind of background work with City Hall. And so that's exactly what's going on right now.
Eileen, do you want to speak?
I just want to ask.
I do really quick. Hi. So I just wanted to, those of you who don't know me, my name's Eileen Dalton. I'm the Chief of Recreation for Brooklyn. So I've been working like with Bella for a really long time. I oversee all the rec centers in Brooklyn. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of kind of where we are at this moment.
Good.
MedPool currently has 4,400 members that belong to the pool. We have 72 hours a week available to program the pool. That includes the Swim for Life program, which, you know, we provide free swimming instruction to second graders throughout the city. MedPool is a big piece of that. We do an adaptive swim program, water polo, lap swim, et cetera. There's a lot of programs. So for us, it's really always been a matter of trying to balance the needs of the entire membership pool. Obviously, the women have always been an integral part of that. And Henny and Bella and I know, we talk about this all the time. But just so you guys kind of understand, in addition, we also did just receive a petition from the lap swimmers. I don't know if that got to the board, but that did get to my office, asking us to not change it. So there are constituencies on both sides, and there's a long history. Councilwoman, if you're ever interested, I can give you. I've been in Brooklyn for 19 years, so I've been through the gamut on this. So I could give you a little bit of the backstory. Not now, it's a lot. But just so you guys kind of all understand, like, it's not about wanting to be, exclusive or not, give the women more time. I would love to have more time in the schedule to give everyone more time. The water polo people call me once a week because they only have 1 day a week. So it's a tough thing to manage. We do also still offer a women's swim session at St. John's in Crown Heights. We don't guarantee a female lifeguard at that session because in the Parks Department, we don't typically offer gender specific programming. All of our programming is as, gender inclusive as possible. So those are like the two programs we've held on to. We want to continue to be able to serve the community in that way. As a woman, I, totally understand it, but just so that everyone here kind of understands the broader context, it's not about not wanting to do, it's about trying to do for the entire membership of 4,400 people. So we kind of have to kind of balance that out.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Jan.
No, I'm going to say is that the truth is, people are really, I don't know who these people are that signed the petition, because we had open hearings for over a year with huge amount of people, lap swimmers, trans people, gay people, everybody, and had this discussion in depth. So when somebody all of a sudden says, oh, we got a new flyer, and I heard, by the way, we've already heard that there's somebody was running around knowing we were having this meeting tonight, getting people to sign a petition that they were complaining about. What is this all about, right, Bella? I mean, it's like, now it's getting ridiculous, because the fact is the original letter that went to the Parks Department was done where people thought, because we are forgetting this minor word, we're in a community that has great diversity. We have worked very hard I'm very proud to be in a community that people have worked across race, class, ethnic lines, and class so well that we have been able to mitigate a lot of problems. But the original issue was that people thought that the Hasidic community, because they saw the women dressed different, looked different, were in the pool. And we've had meetings on all of this where people came out and they said they wore different suits, they had this, they had that. People thought that they were getting a special situation. And in Williamsburg, it's been highly sensitive in battles that we've had locally, or people thought that the Hasidic community may be getting extra special conditions. But the fact was, it was never just the Hasidic community. It was Muslim. Everybody is there. And so all the women that have worked, and when you talk about, Mary said, we got to have now. Now is not here in Brooklyn. National Congress of Neighborhood Women is here. Hundreds of women have been involved and stood behind this battle around women's swim. Italian, Polish, we've all been together. I mean, I don't know where you've been. Lincoln was at these meetings. Jennifer's been at these meetings. We had huge amount of people, hundreds of Hasidic women who are not used to going out to fight for battles. And so it was never, it's really about, does this community really want to honor the fact that we are a diverse community? Women are diverse, and we have special needs, and we are 51% of the population. We are not just some group of water polo people. We are 51%, and people have asked this now for 3 or 4 years. This is really a travesty, and people have been treated often very badly, and they don't say it. Bella's not saying it, Annie's not saying it. I've seen it. So I think Jen has said, and Lincoln has said, we should, and it's the mayor now, I heard, but I don't know why, because the same mayor supported this issue in the past, unless I got that wrong. I thought that he did support it. So I'm just saying I agree with Phil's approach that we have to stand behind so many people, and they're all paying. I want to remind you, they're all paying the full fee. People are paying the money to the Parks Department, but they can only go in 5 hours a week with hundreds and hundreds of women who are paying this fee. So there is something really wrong here if we can't stand behind the diversity of our own neighborhood and to stand up for women, and not just some women, all women. You know, this is really all.
We're all with you, Jan.
Thank you, Phil.
Right now, Jan, we're 100%. So,
I really appreciate
no,
that.
you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Now we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. So my name is Rostislav Rar. I go by Slava. Jan, thank you for educating me on this issue earlier. I wish I had learned from you about how to use technology as well, because then I would have been able to speak earlier. So I'm here on behalf of Rabbi David Niederman. He cares deeply about this issue. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight. So he asked me to make a statement on his behalf. So at its heart, this issue for us is an issue of furthering human welfare. We believe that swimming is unique because it is a low impact activity which promotes health. It has huge health benefits, everything from sleep quality to longevity to stress management. And it's in all of our interests to make sure that those benefits, those health benefits, are widely distributed. But for many women from all walks of life who can't swim with men or don't want to swim with men, these benefits are not available and access is denied. So if we compare two groups of swimmers, one, the adult lap swimmers, and the other, the women's swim group. Adult lap swimmers get 45 hours of swimming time every week, whereas the women's group gets only 5 hours. That means that an adult lap swimmer can swim before they go to work, they can swim during their lunch break, they can swim after they leave work, or they can swim before they go to bed. However, on a Monday, a woman who doesn't want to or can't swim with men only can swim between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. So if she has kids at home that she has to take care of between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m., she can't swim. If she has to work between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m., she can't swim. Or if she's elderly or an older woman, and for some reason she doesn't have the transportation to get to the pool or her caregiver or someone who has to take her there isn't available between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m., that woman also cannot swim on a Monday. So this is what this issue for us is about. It's about access. It's about doing the humanitarian thing. It's about doing the just thing. So thank you for inviting me here, Phil, and thank you for allowing me to make this statement.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Listen, I'm going to make a motion. I think we have to send a letter directly to City Hall and to the mayor's office and tell him this is what this community wants. They want these extra hours and they want them now. So is that what my committee members, does that sound all right to everybody?
Well, I would say I think Carol speaking for the entire community. I feel like
Oh, okay, I know what you mean.
yeah, like the board,
this committee then. I'll put it on this committee, and then this committee will go see if the community board, see what our board says to that.
Phil, this is Simon. Can I say something?
Yeah, Simon, what? Go ahead, Simon.
You know, I'm here today, fully support with these issues, and I look at it from a basically the hours are there. The women's swim is there. They're having the hours. The only ask it should be make normal. 1 hour is zilch. We only asking for 1 extra hour. I mean, this makes sense.
No, we're not asking for one. Simon, we're asking for 3.
I mean, 1 hour per day. 1 hour per day. I'm saying. I'm not saying. We're not saying only 3 extra hours. 3 extra hours, which makes sense.
Okay.
Anyway, so I support your motion.
Yes. I need a board. I want my my committee members to see what they say first.
I have a voting power, just for the record.
Okay.
3, but we can ask them to extend the exemption. Legally, the lawyer here, Phil, I think the question would be, should we ask them to extend the exemption, which is right now 5 hours to 8 hours? We're extending something that people have already agreed that we can have an exemption. I personally disagree that there should be an exemption for women to have space, but that's me. So I'm saying is the easiest thing, lawyer-wise or Phil, to just ask them to expand the extension to 8 hours.
Well, I'm trying to go off what Lincoln said. What Lincoln says, we take a little at a time and we try to get a little every before we bite off a big chunk right off the bat. But if someone wants to make some motion to go to City Hall, I'll entertain.
I do want to go to City Hall because both Jen and Lincoln have all said it's the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
It was the mayor with de Blasio. It's now the mayor with Eric Adams, which is very sad to see. And with no reason, Steve. I mean, that I'm just saying, when you talk about wanting reasons, we don't have a reason. We've never been given it.
You want to leave it like this? We'll leave it like this right now.
Well, I mean, I would say just maybe adjust your original motion, just saying, the request that the city, the Parks Department extend the waiver 3 hours to meet the needs of the community.
That's what I want to. That's what I think.
Women's swim. Yeah.
That the 3 hours.
Second it.
Yes. Okay. All in favor of that motion?
You want to go?
Aye.
Committee members?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote Nahan.
Anybody objecting? And any abstentions? Okay, so I have a full vote on it. Okay. That's good. So we have a motion, and we'll send a letter to City Hall asking for those 3 extra hours.
Right. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you.
Good meeting. Thank you all for coming. We got a quorum. We got a good day today. So stay well, stay healthy, keep swimming.
You did a great job chairing.
And pick up the sport pickleball. It's good for you.
Pickleball. Good night.
I want to play pickleball first.
Thank you all very
We'll
much.
teach you. We'll teach you.
Fortnite, yani bu
Wil je hem gaan bij?